With this brief introduction to our final week, we arrive at the last week of this course, except, of course, for your final exam, but more about that later. It's been quite a journey, and I hope you found the work, the readings, the questions, opportunities for reflection to be helpful, and perhaps to some extent restorative in your life. With this week, we turn to Henri Nouwen, who, along with Thomas Merton, is one of the great influences in my life. If I wanted to leave you with any enduring memory, I'd like it to be the life and teachings of Henri Nouwen. For me, it is fitting that we bring our class time to a close with Henri. It would be quite challenging me to address how much the compassionate heart and the brilliance of this man helped me to find a way through some very difficult times. But I think I might be able to do that by telling you a bit of a story from my life, one of the more difficult stories from my life. My wife Judy and I lost a baby within hours of his birth. As you might guess, this event pretty much changed everything about life, how we thought about it, how we thought about transience and death, how we thought about relationships, how we thought about God, the church, the world. After his death, our world seemed much less certain and secure, and our relationship with God became, well, to put it nicely, troubled and more uncertain. It also led us to a decision to adopt. I could talk about that a long time, but let's just let that stand there. A decision we're glad we made, but one which led to a greater struggle. The decision to adopt led us to adopt two wonderful, beautiful twin daughters. I could tell you a great deal about them, but that isn't really the point. What I want you to understand is that everything we thought and believed about parenting went through a serious upheaval. I might even say thrown out with the trash. In some ways, an upheaval that continues. They are still part of our life. We had one child, our biological son. He was clearly, so to speak, our son in the way he approached life, what he loved to do, how he grew up. Our daughters were troubled and challenging, and at times downright scary in terms of the choices they made as they grew up. What we discovered is that we didn't know how to parent children who, on the one hand, was compliant and on the other resisted nearly everything we tried to do. A constant prayer for both my wife and me was asking God to help us know how to be good parents to our children. There were a lot of people, believe me, a lot of them, mostly people in the church, who were telling us exactly what they thought we should do and could be quite condemning if we didn't follow their advice. Their advice boiled down to a phrase that was very popular back in the day. We're talking about in the end of the 60s. That phrase is tough love. But everything that was summed up in that sounds wise phrase didn't look or sound like love to us. It sounded like something very different. Then I found a book, The Return of the Prodigal by Henri Nouwen. Now, I've read lots of books, and he's written tons of them. I haven't read them all, but I've read many of his books, and they're all very thoughtful and wise and helpful and sometimes quite powerful. But this book, The Return of the Prodigal by Henri Nouwen, changed my life, changed my thinking, changed my heart, changed really everything. And most impactfully, changed my relationship with God. And through my script is not moving. And through these changes, transformed my relationship with my daughters. Henri Nouwen gave me a new way of thinking about God during our lives, the wonder and difficulty of our lives. Nouwen's theology of the God of compassion and his particular read on the story, Jesus' story of the prodigal, were powerfully consoling in our struggles and began to form in me a life-changing idea of God as prodigal father. If you haven't read it, I truly recommend that you add The Return of the Prodigal to your must-read pile of books. Before you dig into, what's going on? Before you dig into the selected Nouwen readings in the textbook, I encourage you to watch this 30-minute, just under 30-minute video developed and published in 2016 on the 20th anniversary of Nouwen's death, 1996. That's when he died. This is an interview with persons who knew Nouwen well, lived and worked with him at L'Arche community in Canada, and I think will give you a good sense of the man that he was, at least at that point in his life. Then, of course, once you finish the video, proceed to read, reflect, and post your responses on Canvas. And as always, I look forward to joining you in that conversation. Blessings on your journey.